Welcome to Retirement, your third act, the podcast for those navigating the transition from work to what comes next. Whether you're planning for retirement or already there, you're not alone. This is a time of change, excitement, and sometimes uncertainty, but it's also a time of opportunity. Hosted by Peter Watts, this podcast brings you real stories from people on the same journey, sharing their challenges, successes, and lessons learned. So, sit back, listen in, and find reassurance, inspiration, and ideas for your own third act. So let's get started. Over to your host, Peter.
So welcome back to another episode of Retirement, Your Third Act. And we're back in Echo Town Recording Studios here in Dorset today. And I'm here with John Stage, and we're here to talk about his retirement journey into his retirement third act. So John, I'm going to jump straight into it as I normally do. Would you just mind describing your retirement in 3 words?
Challenging, interesting, and basically the third word I'd probably put down something like challenging again.
Yeah.
2 challenges.
Yeah. Different challenges.
They are.
Yeah. I'm sure we're going to touch on that at some point today. So I'm going to ask you some questions around before your third act retirement was even in your mind's eye, really. Talk about your business, talk about your life there.
Yeah.
Then I would like to ask you some questions around your transitioning into retirement.
Sure.
And then finally, all the great things that you've been able to do and achieve in your third act in the retirement, really.
Right.
So reflecting back, can you tell me a bit about your print business?
Yeah, I can actually. Basically,
Or how you got there? How you got there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. In a nutshell, a lot of people who are small are not inheriting some business from dad or granddad or something like this.
Yeah.
When you start out from a basically working class background, which I did when my father was cycling to work actually, and my mother, I came from an era where the mother didn't really work.
Right, okay. Yeah.
She was basically a housewife looking after children.
Yeah.
And also maybe her own mum and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And basically chief cook and bottle washer, really, while dad cycles off to work in the morning. Well, anyway, effectively coming from that background, you haven't got, like, as I said, a history of business in the family or anything like that. So what I did was, I did what most people try to do, try to achieve some academic achievement, which was obviously encouraged by my parents.
Yeah.
And the end of that would be that effectively I managed, in the era I was supposedly one of only 8% of the population who went to university. I qualified for university. I got a scholarship to university, actually.
Wow. Which university?
King's College I went to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
The bottom line is that at the end of it all, unfortunately, health had taken its toll. Came home into summer holidays when I was 15 years old. And during those summer holidays, my mother suddenly died from being an active person, doing things,
Jeez, wow.
and looking after the family and having her own interest, which was being a seamstress, working for people, making dresses and stuff.
Yeah.
And in the end, she basically decided, God, I can't do this anymore. And suddenly in July, she became ill. And before I went back to school, she died.
Wow, John.
So on the 6th of September, I went to a funeral.
Yeah.
And I think school started again soon after. And then, lo and behold, I then did 3 years, got the qualifications and this ridiculous scholarship, which turned out to be a non-event in a way, because I went to university, and the first term of university, you end they call it a semester now, don't they?
Yeah,
but basically the first term.
Right.
The autumn term. You come back home. I came back home to an empty house and my dad in hospital. And then, of course, that was the beginning of him dying. And before that university course got very far, he died. I came from a small family and therefore I was lumbered. There was no money around, nothing to inherit. In fact, I inherited £1,000 and a car. Mm. Now, the bottom line was I only got one family member, a brother who was 8 years older than me.
Yeah.
So in the end, you end up saying, what am I going to do? Well, I rather luckily, life's a funny game. Never be fooled that luck, you make your own luck totally. That's not true.
Right.
luck is what it's meant to sound, luck, good, bad and indifferent.
Sure.
And I was very lucky. I managed to squirm my way into a postgraduate training course.
Yeah.
Post meaning after. So even though I was only 20, 21, those sort of ages, I got on this postgraduate training course at the age of 20, actually, and then ended up finding myself with graduates.
Right.
Now, there are these people who go to university when they're 18, they come out with a degree, especially in those days. Not many degrees are 4 years. Nowadays they are. But 3 years of graduation, I found myself amongst men only, by the way.
Right, okay. Yeah, yeah.
And this was a private thing run by an American company that basically had its offices in 120 countries around the world, even in the 1970s, 60s and 70s. So I went on this course, and for 3 years, the purpose of the course was to generate a band of potential quality executives.
Okay.
So they had a good base for future management around the UK, Europe, and so on.
Right, okay.
And rather stupidly, I think mainly because I was lucky because I wasn't running back home to the girlfriend. This was in London. So I got a bedsitter in London, started working for these people in Greenford, believe it or not, a suburb around Ealing area, West London. Their head office is in Marylebone Road. So I became really quite with a car driving ability, which I got at the age of 17 plus about 2 weeks. Very lucky to get a car just 17 plus 2 weeks. So I ended up basically being able to be mobile, free as a bird. And while I was doing all this, one of the directors of the company seemed to spot me for some reason as a bit of a free card, to use an analogy, or free pass, because, hold on, we've got a problem in Cardiff. Now, this is after I'd done their course.
Okay.
But their course was so good, they had offices in about 50 places in Britain.
Right.
And there's hardly a town in Britain I didn't go and work in for them.
Wow, okay.
Because I was a free agent, I'd be sent to a place like Cardiff just for a fortnight.
Yeah.
Go to Middlesbrough for 3 weeks because we're short of staff up there. But the training gave me the ability to do this. As the training went on, I also got they also allowed me to go to college one day a week, and I got other qualifications like a degree, an A-level in law, economics, that sort of cobblers, to add to what I'd already got. So I ended up being quite educated and quite a facility, a useful asset for this company.
Sure.
And then while I was starting to do this thing around the country, like being in Cardiff or being in Bristol, this director seemed to spot me and say, right, you can be really useful to me. You can be my free guy when I get further problems around the country. And I became, I think, what's called a qualified systems design analyst, because the company was involved in computers, or the forerunner of computers, because they were going into companies and saying, what are your problems? You're not running your business very professionally. You're still using manual record keeping, manual bookkeeping.
To become more efficient.
So I basically was promoting business machines, which, of course, as we all know, have all graduated to the computer. And as a result of that, I was doing this, and suddenly out of the blue, I got a phone call from a guy I'd trained with, one of the people on this graduate course who'd gone to America with the same company.
Okay.
So there's a job over here. You should apply for it. So I did, and went to America to work for them.
Wow, okay.
That was in Dayton, Ohio. Went to New York, went to Philadelphia and Cincinnati.
So how exciting.
It was, and I did all this stupidly while the Vietnam War was on, because I didn't really have anybody like to guide me. I didn't have like somebody like a...
You're finding your way, you know, no one say that's a good idea or a bad idea.
To look over me, because we came from a small family. My uncle was dying-ish. Sure. I know he had a stroke sometime around it, and my auntie was older than my dad, but still alive in Edinburgh, being Scots, because they were all Scots, my father and his family. And that's it. So I ended up being a free agent, really. And when I came back, this is to answer your question, Peter, while I was in Bermuda working for this company, the boss, because it's a franchise, the boss came to me and said, do you know anything about printing? And I said, no. He said, that doesn't matter, because this guy who runs our printing division has just had a stroke and is ill. I need somebody to take over. So I took over the printing division, knowing damn all, really, about printing. But because this guy was so good, and I got a lot of help from the company, I really got to know how to handle things, because the industry I was involved in, if you think about it, the computer was a brilliant thing for the printing industry because suddenly people would need a multitude of stationery. For example, we could press buttons and print out 5,000 people's bank statements, where before it was all one at a time.
Sure, okay.
So you then get involved in something called continuous stationery.
Yeah,
which is like toilet rolls.
Yeah,
Just went on and on and on. Of course, that's got to be printed specially.
Yeah.
And it's got to fit machinery. So I got to know all that stuff. And then when I was in Bermuda, probably because I was young and not looking after myself too much, other than just working and enjoying life, playing golf, by the way, Bermuda, what a place.
Yeah.
Always one of the top 50 golf courses in the world.
Wow.
Probably 2 sometimes over there.
Yeah.
When you do these analyses of the best places to play golf in the world. And I got something called glandular fever, which is mononucleosis in the States. And I didn't look after myself. I should have taken 3 months off work straight away to recover, but I didn't. And in the end, the boss came to me and said, look, you're not well. You better go home.
Right. Okay.
Have 2 months off. And I came back here to Britain, where this recording is being done, and basically never went back.
Wow.
So that's what happened.
Yeah. And you then...
Well, then I started...
say eventually, but you
came back here.
You had your own business.
Basically came back here knowing all about the printing industry and all this business about how to churn printing out of these machines that needed this continuous stuff, and started getting involved in selling that because I knew the company I was working for was doing it itself. I saw a loophole in the business and went to call on people who were using the company and saying, I can do this for you on my own.
Right, okay, yeah.
I didn't present it in such basic terms. I masqueraded really as a sort of agent for this type of work. Sure. And then because I got so much business, I started my own printing business up.
Brilliant, wow.
Yeah.
And where was that business?
Wembley.
Cool.
In London.
Okay,
yeah.
Geez, wow, wow. Just reflecting back on your time running your own business in Wembley, proudest moments, is there anything that kind of comes to mind?
Well, the proudest moments really are based on achievement, because that's the way you work. I became quite self-motivated because it was to survive. Sink or swim when Dad died, wasn't it? Let's face it.
Yeah.
No money, and I couldn't keep the scholarship going because, frankly, I didn't even want to do the course I was on.
Yeah.
So that's another story. But basically, I ended up achievement moments in Wembley would be the early days. Would be things like getting a really good name customer.
Yeah.
Not just Joe Bloggs.
No.
Or the company on the third on the left on the first trading estate.
Sure.
A national name.
Like a brand, like a national name. Yeah.
And I ended up working for Pizza Hut.
Did you? Okay.
When they only had 7 branches in the UK, 7 only.
Wow.
And I worked for Pizza Hut as a supplier, front of house and back of house stuff for them.
Really? Well, okay.
And I did that until they got 140 branches.
Wow, John.
About 8 years.
Jeez.
And then suddenly I really like a nice guy who's obviously dead now. His name's Arthur Thompson, who I'd met at a lower level in the industry.
Yeah.
And then he'd gone on to get the job at Pizza Hut. He phoned me up one day. That's how I got in.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm at Pizza Hut now. Come along. We could do with you up here. I went to see in Mill Hill, it was, in North London. And I was based in Wembley, so it's all London-based, really.
Yeah.
I went to see Arthur, and he said, fine, we worked on from 7. And then when they got 140, Arthur rang me up and said, you better come up here pretty quickly. I went in. Instead of seeing me in a fairly open-plan office, with his office just in a cubicle, but the door was open, he said, you better shut the door. We've been bought out by Pepsi-Cola.
Well, I never. Wow.
And, of course, anybody with half a brain knows that when you're running a big company and you're as an employee of a big company and you're there sourcing services, if you carry on sourcing those services from a smallish company and it goes wrong, the finger can be pointed at you. Why did you carry on with John Stage?
Sure, right, okay, yeah.
Although I had a company name, obviously.
Yeah.
No. We need to use
they're probably
national
in-house, national in-house or
So
economies of scale.
So Arthur Thompson and me were both shown the door.
Wow, okay, jeez.
He lasted for about 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
I was more or less finding new suppliers.
Thanks ever so much for your time, and off you go. Wow, okay.
So that's really, they were the moments.
So proudest moment was a household brand or helping them.
I got quite a few brands in the retail trade of clothing.
Yeah.
one or two national names there.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
And
Well done.
I got the ability, and also another, one of my national names is a bit funny actually, because it was Contessa. Now, that might be a name that the person listening to this will remember. It was owned by Courtaulds. Now, Courtaulds was a company producing chemical products turned into nylon.
Okay, right.
So they produced nylon goods and so on. And they produced a lot of mainly ladies' undergarments.
Right, okay, yeah.
So that was good.
That was fun.
But,
no samples, Endo. No samples.
No, I didn't wear any.
Just you mentioned golf there actually, and it's a hobby that I've just started actually on my journey. And Bermuda sounds amazing. You know, I can only just imagine what those courses were like. Tell me a little bit about your work-life balance. Were you because coming from the background you came from to building the business yourself, I can imagine it was a lot of hours, a lot of intense working. Yeah. Did you manage to find any balance to go and enjoy your golf again, or did you move on to anything else? Because I know you got a love of cycling, which we'll touch on in a minute. But
yeah, sure. I think you got to bear in mind, I came from a very small family. My father was a very typical Scotsman, nice man, but very strong-minded in terms of putting money on the table for the family, dedicated to his job, and even not when he got to 65, even though he lasted till he was 67, he carried on working, would you believe? He didn't want to pack up work.
Okay.
But by that time, his wife and my mum had died.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, what actually happened in my case would be, I'd say that the real issue for me was that by working from a small family, you don't really have a lot of contacts.
Sure, yeah.
You're basically living on your own wits, and you don't really have any introductory people either. For example, like if you come from a family where the business is already there, they've already got established accountants.
Yeah.
Already got people, a bank manager.
Yeah.
I had none of that.
Yeah. Or you're around people that are thinking of retiring and all that kind of stuff, as in the moving into the transitioning stages of retirement. I suppose if Dad worked for that length of time, did retirement ever come into your mind, John? No.
Not in a million years.
It was 100% focused, focus on work.
It was a word
Yeah.
you obviously know about, but by and large, you weren't meeting people.
Yeah.
By being younger, you tend, especially like that course with all these university graduates.
Yeah.
And even going to Bermuda, even the people I met in Bermuda were young Americans, or the bloke running the franchise was only about 55. No, it never occurred to me.
No.
I never thought of retirement. And by the way, this is an interesting point, particularly because I wasn't rated by the accountant I ended up using. It was a pretty arrogant man, actually. He was what I would call a public school toff.
Right.
And nose in the air sort of guy. But, yes, I need an accountant because I've got to employ my staff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And underling staff. And this came to my mind very early on, after about 5 years of running the business on my own, where, first of all, in those days, you didn't need to render accounts for 3 years.
Right, okay.
You'd get away with 3 years before you had to present it. That's the tax laws of the day.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have to render accounts every year. So you take your books to him, and he just basically, it came to a simple fact. He just passed it on to an underling. And then you get a phone call saying, your books are ready. Come over, John. Have a cup of coffee. Have a quick chat. Off you go. One day, this is maybe after I've been running the business about 7 or 8 years, by which time my wife and I were beginning to sort of get on the property ladder and move house from one to another. And my wife was quite a creative person. In fact, that was the nature of her job, actually. That's why she was creative, because it was creative work she did. Yeah. And the bottom line was, we moved house, and suddenly I went to see this guy, and he said, next year I'll come in with you. I'll come and see you. I've got customers in the area.
Yeah.
He came to see me. Quite frankly, he got a shock. I got a really nice house in Sunningdale in Berkshire, with almost like on a private estate of about 13 houses only, and nice gardens. My wife was very responsible for that. We'd only just started to have children because we were together for 7 years without any children. Yeah. And the bottom line was we established a strong base.
Yeah.
She was an independent person, not having many ties with her family either, geographically and what have you. So we were like a couple of lost souls, really.
Yeah.
We got together and we formed this partnership where we both had ambition, and this guy came round, the accountant, which is worth knowing for anybody who's thinking about what they're doing in their lives at the moment, listening to this broadcast or following the text we're putting down. The fact of the matter is that he suddenly realised, hold on, this guy is earning more than I realised, he's more successful than I realised. It's about time we started to give him a bit more control. Has he got a pension? No.
Okay.
Is he thinking of his future? No.
Right.
What happens if he has a road accident and can't work next week? So he suddenly started to take interest in me and signed me up to things like Norwich Union, which at those days was a big insurance company, getting a policy which meant if I couldn't work for one reason after an accident, and now we had a family.
Yeah, that would have been important.
He didn't even show up at my house in Sunningdale until my son was about 4 years old.
Okay. Yeah.
He's an arrogant man.
Yeah.
But he didn't really impress me on reflection.
No, sure.
But you don't have the experience, you see.
No, of course you don't. No. And sometimes you learn by your mistakes, don't you?
Of course.
Or errors or something like that. So retirement. So what I'm hearing, John, is retirement was never in the plan, Pete.
No,
it was just one of those things. So one of the things that I'm finding when I'm talking to people that are moving into retirement or people that have already retired is their identity shift. They've been one person or the business in your world for 40, 50 odd years. Then all of a sudden they've got to change. They've got to try and learn who they are again. Would you just mind taking a minute to reflect back on how do you feel that you found that, or was it a problem or not a problem?
Actually, this might not be what you want to hear from me, but it's not a silly comment. I never have looked at retirement as retirement.
Okay.
My own view about retirement, having not given it a lot of thought, even being involved in it, so to speak, is that I don't think it's necessarily a good idea to hang the word retirement around your head like a label.
Yeah.
I don't believe in labelling things to the point of thinking you've moved from one state to another, to another. Obviously, the thing about life is that we cannot check or stop the process of aging. And really, if you think about life as a whole, it starts off when you're a teenager, then you get in your 20s, your 30s and 40s. Suddenly, I agree, when you get to the age like 50 to 55, you get these pensions being put in front of you with the terms and what you might get when you retire, whether it's 60 years old or whatever it might be. You start looking at it. But being an entrepreneurial sort of person, I always thought about it as, yes, but not yet.
Okay, So not yet, did you wake up one day and go, I can't do it anymore? Or what's that?
Well, the big change for me was the condition of my wife's health.
Sure, okay.
And that was a massive thing.
Yeah.
Then you end up with a situation with the two sons I had wanted to flee the nest for obvious reasons, go into their various sort of education after school situations, university or what have you. But really, for me, I've never really made a definitive remark to myself and changed the course of my life to the point of like suddenly going down the road, which you hear about a lot of people doing, and literally just saying, I'm no longer an airline pilot. I'm no longer a tool maker in a factory. What am I going to do?
Right.
And for me, what I tended to do was think about my hobbies and interests. And think, the great thing about retirement, for me, I thought it was a transition from being very busy to not so busy to not so busy to not so busy. And what I did effectively was I ran my business down.
Okay,
because the industry I was in, this probably happens in many industries and over many different eras, but the industry era of printing, any printing expert who's available to listen to these comments from me and make a comment back would be saying he's probably right there. And the comment I'm going to make is that really with the printing industry, like a lot of industries, they sort of bumbled along with whatever the Industrial Revolution had given them. A good example might be the steam engine and the railways, which Beeching eventually ditched in 1963. Then suddenly we've got to rely on a different form of transport, not steam engine, diesel engines or whatever, the electric trains and so on. But basically, it's a bit like that in the printing industry. We bumbled along And people made these early mechanical machines, which are really quite basic, where almost you could say, well, if you want to produce something A3, for example, which printed, you more or less got to print one, wait for a millisecond, print another, wait for a millisecond, print another.
Yeah, okay.
Very repetitive.
Yeah.
Whereas then, rather like I said, with the continuous stationary idea, suddenly the printing press became rolling paper.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And then you take that forward to machinery where you're not printing the local newspaper or the Daily Telegraph, you're printing somebody else's stuff.
Okay.
And even, for example, thing that you'd work with as a flatbed piece of equipment, like a brochure or a leaflet, that could start off as a large piece of fat paper, but still start to be processed on an industrial weight on a multiple basis.
Okay.
So fed through machinery and so on. Well, this machinery was being upgraded almost, well, a bit facetious to say this, almost hourly.
Yeah, so the pace of change, it was quite
and
rapid.
This change started,
well, that resonated with a lot of people, I think,
in the
John,
second half of the 80s. For example, a good example would be I couldn't afford to buy the machinery. It was too much money. So you'd lease it. You'd lease a piece of equipment for, say, £1 million, and then you'd find that the guy who's in charge of your leasing contract, who's a wise boy, knocks on the door after he's had the equipment for 18 months, say, "How's it going, John? Fine. How's the machinery going? Good." Well, actually, that's been upgraded now. Yeah. And if you don't upgrade it in the next 18 months, I've already got a bloke a mile away who's going to put the new equipment in. Get it?
Competition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the same applied with the preparatory work before you get stuff on the printing machinery, which is what the computer could do for you.
Okay.
So the whole graphics industry, which is producing a lot of what you read and see every day of your lives, was still there, developing in the 70s, 80s and 90s. But in the old days, it was almost archaic. Yeah. Then you get different types of formats where you actually can produce this graphic stuff and how you translate it into getting into printing on the printing machine. That all transformed rapidly. So
did you find, because I talk to lots of clients in lots of different sectors and industries, and I do come across this quite a bit, that naturally the business progresses and moves forward predominantly with technology.
That's right.
And we get to a stage where, I'm not saying it's left us behind, but we're moving in a different direction. And it's about, I don't know if I want to learn the next machine, the next system, the next process. And it's kind of just timely that we transition into going from full time to slowing down, like you've mentioned, actually wound the business down.
My situation was basically governed by two factors. Factor number one is one I've touched on already, which is basically to keep pace with the, it's a bit like you either run fast to keep going, or you run fast to stand still, or you start going backwards.
Yeah.
And really, I suddenly realised, hold on, it says so much a month for that piece of equipment. To keep pace, it's now this much a month, which means I've got to get more orders. I refused to expand.
Yeah.
And the reason I refused to expand was I saw the dangers and the fact I'd already produced a small business.
Yeah.
Much bigger companies, e.g. the people who are now doing the work for Pizza Hut, were much bigger than me. One of the best examples I can give you, I used to produce magazine inserts I did quite a lot of work for IPC, International Printing Corporation.
Okay. Yeah.
I used to produce magazine inserts. Well, we all know what they are.
Yeah.
You get the monthly version of, I don't know, Vogue or something like that. And then the middle spread might have a special feature by one particular advertiser. You could produce that for them, for Vogue, give them a good service, and then they say, right, we need 50,000 copies of this in the magazine. When's the magazine? Well, it goes to print next Thursday.
Right, okay.
So you've got to get it ready. But where is it? The magazine's in South Wales. It's being done. I'll never forget, we had a Rush 1 production, and I drove a 3.5-ton vehicle myself from Wembley down to Caerphilly in Wales sometime, which it was sometime in the 90s, would be in the 90s, and delivered these 50,000 magazine inserts, all printed by me, in the format they needed to incorporate them in the making. And when I got there, 10:30 one night, because they work all night, these people, the guy in charge of the factory that night said, where are you from? I said, Wembley. What do you do? I said, this. He said, come with me a minute. Use a cup of coffee, have a rest before you go back to London. He walked me around this factory. This is 91, 92.
Yeah.
Look at that. He said, in the last 6 months, we just put 23 million pounds of his equipment in here.
Really? Wow.
Get it?
Yeah.
This is my point, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
and
illustrated.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
illustrated by
Yeah.
the point.
Yeah.
And you end up saying, I'm a small
You're not
fish.
at that level. Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
small fish in a bigger and bigger pond. Take the Radio Times.
Yeah.
Now, the Radio Times is printed in Park Royal. Traditionally, that's where my factory was. Now, in Park Royal, no word of a lie, it had miscellaneous industries, but any printing industry had bigger plant than I did. Sort of thing I made before. They've got a bigger place, a bigger machine up the road. There's getting bigger orders than you. Now, the Radio Times is famous for going on strike.
Oh, really? Okay.
I reckon this would be in the 80s.
Okay.
And when I was in there anyway, in my place in the 80s, the bottom line is, this is true, for about 18 months, because it was so near to me, you used to drive past their Radio Times factory.
Yeah.
It was shut. It wasn't producing any Radio Times. The men were outside picketing with pallets of wood on fire,
Right, okay.
soup kitchens. The old toot of the horn when the driver went by,
To support
thumbs
them,
up.
Yeah, yeah.
And I used to
Jeez.
drive, I had to go past there on the way to the bank actually,
Okay.
to pay in money. But the bottom line was, and just being there. But really, why? That eventually ended up being produced in Holland, in the Netherlands.
Yeah, so outsourced. Yeah.
So that's really it. So I got to a point where I realised two things, to answer your original question. Two things. I'm running it down because it's too complicated to stay in it
Yeah.
and
yeah.
too financially committed. Because you know that it is true. The harder you run, the further you fall. Or
yeah.
the higher you go, the further you fall.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So I decided not to take too much of a chance.
yeah.
In a way, to bring your subject matter into play here, I was contemplating the years ahead by saying, I don't want to retire broke.
Okay.
I don't want to go bust.
Yeah. Yeah.
And have all the implications of that, lose my house, for example, lose my
Yeah.
whatever I've got, which I thought was worth keeping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, synonymous with all this, my wife became ill in 1993 originally, then 6 badly, and then 99 terribly with operations. Huge operation. It cost me a lot of money because the NHS were useless. Anybody listening to this, by the way, don't tell me the NHS is only useless now. If you want to use the word useless, they've always had their weaknesses. So don't think it's just now. So the bottom line was, with her illnesses and everybody else, like the boys leaving home to go to university, and me having these worries about going broke as opposed to, I decided slowly but surely to run the business down.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what happened.
Okay. Thanks for that, John. That was really, really insightful. Moving on to retirement life,
Yeah.
or life in retirement, and actually something you said only a couple of minutes ago around you saw retirement of you just doing more things that you enjoy doing. So
Yeah.
I really want to spend a little bit of time talking about all those things, really, about how you spend your time now and what purpose you find in life. I'd love you to talk about your joy of cycling, the love of horse racing.
Yeah.
Any other sports that you
Sure.
love and enjoy, and also maybe touching, because I know you've toured France or you've had holidays in France, and there was a camper van at one point as well.
That's right.
So if it's okay, I'd love to just explore that a minute, if that's okay, and you talk
Right,
about those
well-
things you love doing.
What, with this running down your life scenario, you do realise, I mean, I was a very lucky man in a way. I became able to have more than one home. So because I got more than one home, I could start, I was almost gambling with life in a way. It all sort of came to the way of thinking when I realised that even keeping the business going on a reduced scale, and certainly while it was busy, my business is based on human contact.
Yeah,
So Arthur Thompson, the Pizza Hut guy, for example, you knew him face to face.
yeah.
I never advertised a bit once. Never advertised once anywhere.
Okay.
Every business client I got was word of mouth,
Okay. Yeah.
or just me telling people personally,
Yeah.
and other people working for a company and moving somewhere else,
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, the company I'm working for is fine. They've moved on to here."
Okay.
You get a phone call. So the bottom line was, I end up thinking about this, and obviously at the same time being a very sporty person and loving sport generally, and keeping it going rather feebly at a low level. I managed to get another house near a cricket ground. And obviously that was my number one game when I was growing up as a boy.
Yeah.
And I had to
Were
give
you a
up.
bowler or were you a batsman or were you an
Me,
all-rounder, John?
I was an all-rounder.
All-rounder,
really.
yeah.
My prime quality recognised by the authorities was batting.
Was it? Okay, yeah.
The people I played cricket with, that's where I got my
That's where you, yeah.
accolades from professionals. But the bottom line was, always interested in sports. Father being a Scotsman, golf was always there.
Yeah.
But what you've got to bear in mind is these things get put literally in the waste bin, paper bin metaphorically for a period of years because you've got to earn a living.
Yeah.
And the strong things I liked involved a lot of time.
Yeah.
So golf is a time-consuming game.
Yeah.
Cricket's a time-consuming game. And even with respect, playing football, if you go and say, well, who are you playing today? Slough Town away.
Yeah.
Well, that means you're living in Windsor.
An hour and a half away or...
Although actually, that's very close.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
But even so, it's still time.
Yeah.
And when you're running a business and knowing that you've got to keep your paperwork up to date and so on. Anyway, that's it. So I ended up always loving these things, but putting them to bed for a while. But as I got into this more like a leisurely ideas for the future, and also one big thing was that I realised in my latter years of being very busy, the best example is when I had my house in Sunningdale, my wife being a sociable person and looking after my first boy, she said to me, I've met this guy. Him and his wife are good, keen tennis players. Really? Yeah. Oh, we could play tennis with them one Saturday. Why don't we? All right, good.
Yeah.
Then the guy would say to me, right, how about we meet up? I can play singles on Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
I said, what time? He said, 5 o'clock. I said, no, I couldn't make 5. I can make 6 o'clock. Of course, London traffic.
Yeah.
3 consecutive tennis meetings with this chap. Always late, waste of time.
Right, okay.
So in the end, I said, I can't do these communal sports where you meet other people or you have to 4 hours on the golf course. I took up running.
Did you? Okay.
The reason I took up running was you don't need an appointment with anybody. And the modern era we're living in now is very popular.
Yeah.
But I actually was very good because I'm one of the pioneers of the guy who used to go jogging from his house.
Okay.
I started running in 1976.
Did you? Yeah.
I did that because I needed to do that. But I realised as I went down the road and tried the golf experiment, tried the cricket experiment, no, just keep the running going.
Just keep it active.
So that gave me a chance to do that. But again, weird thing about my business was I used to meet people associated industries.
Yeah.
So when I was running, I needed a decent pair of shoes.
Yep.
Even though the shoes were CRAP compared with current
Today's,
shoes, still need a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
So we went to this place in Woking in Surrey, went into the shop, started chatting. The guy said yes. It turned out to be run by Chris Brasher's son. Now, anybody who knows anything about running is Chris Brasher's son now runs a London Marathon.
Okay.
His father started the London Marathon. His father, basically, would you believe it, was there in the White City in 1954 when Roger Bannister broke the world record for the mile.
For the mile. Yeah.
I, the first man to run the mile under 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And would you believe it, Chris Brasher and Chris Chataway, who became a London MP. Brasher became an entrepreneur and started his own businesses up, hence what I'm talking about now.
Yeah.
These two guys were his pacemakers.
Well, I never, John. Jeez. Okay.
And I met Chris Brasher's son. His name's Hugh. He's still on the radio now.
Is he really? Wow. Okay. Well, I never.
Yeah.
Well, I've learned something new. I didn't know you used to be into running.
Yeah.
I know you're cycling. You're really into your cycling now, aren't you?
So I ran over 1,000 runs, I worked out.
Jeez.
I packed up thanks to a guy who used to be the British lawn tennis's physio at Wimbledon for about 15 years. So when a player became injured, even in those days, these players didn't come around with didn't fly around the world with their own physio.
No.
They came and used those on Roland Garros or in Wimbledon.
Yeah.
And this guy, his name was Matthews, was there, and he got hold of me and said, "Yeah, we keep you fit, we keep you healthy." After a while, he said, "John," it was in 1999 actually. He said to me, "John, you've got to pack up running. Your discs are getting shattered."
Okay. Yeah. Oh, what a shame.
Well, that's how I took up cycling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because of the
strain on your knees and your back,
the
and
impact,
the impact
shock.
sport.
Yeah.
See, cycling isn't an impact sport
No.
unless you come off. which I've done and broken my pelvis.
Yeah, you have done
pelvis.
pretty. And where's your cycling taking you? You know,
Well, down the road. But and back, thank God.
and back, yeah.
Otherwise, you're
Yeah, that's the
walking
problem.
home.
Is like, yeah, you need to make sure you can
God,
get
I've
back.
had a few cases where I haven't got back home. I must have done hundreds of bike rides,
Yeah.
and basically took me in the end from London to Monte Carlo.
Did it really? Wow. Okay. God, what an achievement.
I rode from London to Monte Carlo, thanks to a guy called God, his name
Escapes you. Yeah.
Ben. What's his name? Ben Fogel.
Right. Okay.
It's Ben Fogel who got me into running from London to Monte Carlo.
Yeah. How?
Everybody knows about Ben
Yeah,
Fogel.
they do. Yeah. Well, how did he?
Well, basically, the story's quite complicated. My life's been very fascinating because I happen to be an entrepreneur and I was always interested in chatting away. I sent my sons to private schools, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend. That's another subject. But the bottom line is, one of the public schools I went to, we met a guy called John Adair. Now, John Adair was a professor at Exeter University with lots of miscellaneous skills. And he sent his son to the same school I sent one of my sons to.
Right.
In fact, both of them, actually. And Adair said to me one day, "What do you do?" I told him. He said, "Oh, my daughter is trying to raise money for a charity. It's actually the Macmillan Cancer.
Oh, okay.
And she's trying to produce a cookery book
Yeah.
and wants to sell a cookery book. So over 18 months, I produced a cookery book for her, using my graphics designer to work on it.
Yeah.
The idea was I'd do it for nothing.
Okay.
So in the end, we did this cookery book, recipes, 100 recipes, which she was promoting, and they were done. And we did line drawings of all the chickens on a
Sure.
plate
Okay.
or
Yeah.
some rubbish.
Yeah.
But the bottom line was we did this cookery book. But in a way of returning a compliment to me, he recommended a few customers to me, this John Adair guy.
Wow. Okay.
So it just turned out to be a nice contact,
Yeah.
John Adair.
Yeah.
But yeah, so his son did crazy things. Like his son rode the Pacific with one other person. He rode the whole Pacific Ocean. He produced it's a book. You can get it now by his son. He's somewhere to school with my son.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's just fascinating.
from that, yeah,
but
you're
what you
most definitely
find is,
people.
you find in life, you meet these people.
You're certainly a people person, aren't you? You know,
Yeah.
and that's quite evident. That relationship, that interaction with people is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really, it is this business about meeting people down the road of life, really.
Yeah.
And I just happened to cotton on to a few strange people. And weirdly enough, it took me to meet, for example, Adair, and then his son became sort of quite famous for doing what he did.
Yeah.
And other people I can mention as well.
Yeah. Brilliant.
You just meet them along the way.
Cycling, golf, travelling.
Well, Ben Fogel,
running.
you see, the reason Ben Fogel came into the equation was John Adair was a good bloke, and he said to me, "I'd like you to introduce you to another not national name, but somebody a lot of people might have heard of.
Yeah.
A guy called Captain John Blatchford Snell."
Right. Okay.
Blatchford Snell,
Yeah.
hyphenated name. Now, this Blatchford Snell guy was an ex-army guy. So was John Adair,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. And because they knew each other, they keep in touch with each other down the road of life. And Blatchford Snell left the army and set up his own company because he was absolutely obsessed by the African elephant.
Okay.
And what he did was he started up all sorts of things to try and preserve the African elephant, which he'd already got facts and figures of, which was going to be basically shot to death or butchered to death by ignorant Africans, African tribes, because they were after the ivory.
Oh, okay.
The ivory.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
They were killing African elephants and selling the ivory to China.
Mm-hmm.
And I in the end ended up producing a magazine for this guy, John Blessenshill, about 4 times a year.
Okay.
It's called a scientific magazine based on scientific matters he was involved in terms of the natural world, almost like a forerunner of people trying to preserve the planet and the animals on the planet.
So your circle of friends, circle of business people introduce you to even more people. Right. John, just taking you back, taking you a step back to your 3 words. You mentioned challenges twice there.
Yeah.
I don't know how comfortable you are about talking about these things, but health, your health experiences through retirement. How do you see how they've played out?
Well, I think we all have to realise anybody listening to this who's thinking about where they're going to go in the next 20 years of their life, so they're 60 years old, thinking of retirement, 55, even 50. There's no way you can be silly enough to think you're going to go down the remaining years of your life without health issues unless you suddenly drop dead at the bottom of the staircase or get run over by the proverbial bus. So regretfully, we all know this is there somewhere. You try and do things to try and keep yourself healthy, but the body is only so good. So, for example, as my running, I've already mentioned to Peter here, I had to pack up in '99 thanks to John Matthews, the ex-British lawn tennis physio. John, you can't do it. You've got to take less impact off your body. After trying to keep it at bay, say for 5 or 10 years, it catches up with you. So I end up moving to cycling as a less impact sport.
Like rolling with the punches then, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
That stops, so you've got to move under something else.
And I did that. And I've done that. And I took up a lot more walking and things like that. But then equally then that gets challenged by other health issues. So the only thing you can say really is, in my case, it has been quite impactful. But the only thing you can do is, we never know which type of health issue we're going to get.
No.
But the only thing I'd say to anybody listening to this is, don't be complacent. Don't be silly. Be moderate. Don't overdo things. For example, if you like to get drunk occasionally, probably stop. Is it really worth it? Just enjoy being happy, but don't get paralytically drunk. Don't go to parties and stuff where you're likely to be a victim of somebody who gets into a fight.
Sure.
It's true. Try and preserve your own being. And that's why you have insurance policies, isn't it, in a way? And that's why you have a pension. Because in a pension, you're looking after your future to make sure that you don't end up penniless and you can pay the bills. That's really about it.
Just if you had a chance to go back and talk to your younger self, and I'll let you choose the age that you would go back to, the era you go back to, what kind of advice would you have for a younger John Stage about this stage of life?
What?
Your later years.
I've already touched on what you're like when you're 20s and 30s. You're not thinking about it at all.
No.
When you're 40s, you're not. The thing that really made me think about what's going to happen in the future was when my wife started getting ill, because she was 1 year younger than me only. So when she suddenly gets ill in 1993, and you're barely 40 plus, you're thinking, God, this is ridiculous. So the bottom line is, when you're thinking, God, I'm 50 and she's already quite ill, it's not funny.
No.
So the advice I give to people would be, don't get complacent.
I like that.
I think that's a bad thing, because I'll tell you one thing that's very relevant. For those of you listening to this, you probably don't know, I live in a place called Poundbury. Poundbury is an artificial location in a way, created by Prince Charles, then Prince Charles, now King Charles, out of basically agricultural fields. Literally, probably reaping in 100,000 acres of, well, not that many, certainly, let's say 500 acres of ground, producing corn and wheat and what have you, arable mainly, now turned into housing. And the reason that he did it was he had a vision of architecture, which we all know about if we follow his life. And that architectural vision he's translated into what Poundbury is now. It started as a planning thing in the early 90s and a building thing towards the back end of the 90s. It's still going on now, 25 years later, but at a small, reduced scale because of lack of land, and also everything has a limit to size, although that may be debatable. But what happened there was, I live in Poundbury. Now, Poundbury is a weird place in one way. It's an architect's dream, in my opinion, because no two roads look the same. Many houses adjacent to each other are different. They're not like rows and rows of the same design. But the thing about it is that it has enticed, probably quite understandably, an element of older people. And when you walk around Poundbury, whether it's winter's evening or summer's evening, you'll see dog walkers, you'll see people out. You see quite a lot of these people are still married couples. And I'd like to give them all a talk, actually.
Yeah.
And the reason I like to talk to all these people is I like to say, don't think because you're retired with a partner that everything's fine.
Sure.
And the complacency of some of these people is almost pathetic to see. The best way of observing this is to go to a coffee shop on your own or with a friend that's got, say, 50 covers in it or 40 covers in it, and watch people coming and going. And they come in, they don't walk with any decency, they stroll up to the coffee counter. The man looks a bit bored, the wife looks as though she's going through the motions. They buy their coffees and a bit of cake and saunter off to a table. They sit down, they don't talk to each other hardly at all. They're looking at you, they're trying to see who's in here. Their lives are pretty empty. And I think that's a huge danger. I think these people have missed the boat, actually. They're not exercising their brains. They seem to be, and you see it. They walk down the street hand in hand. Where are these people going? It's really quite sad, in my opinion.
Okay.
And I think if that's retirement, I'd advise against it. I'd say you can't retire like that. Make sure your life's got some interest going on.
Yeah.
Make sure you're doing something.
Okay.
Make sure that each day's got something interesting so that you don't, even if all it is I must always read the Saturday Telegraph because there are a couple of journalists in there I like reading.
Sure.
I must always watch Country File on a Sunday evening.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. I must always watch some comedy program.
Sure.
Have pattern, have organisation, have communication.
Yeah.
Don't come stagnant in retirement.
Sure, okay. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I can hear that.
That's me.
Don't be complacent.
Yeah.
Grab it with both hands.
Yes.
Don't assume that you're going to have a next 20, 30 years together.
Yeah, and also maybe have your own interpretation of the word retirement.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get a preconceived idea what retirement is. I think, I'll never forget a story about when I was growing up as a boy. I grew up in Brighton and Hove, and my mum was part of 6 children. I only had one auntie and 4 uncles. This auntie we used to go and visit from time to time. Auntie Gladys, her name was, good old-fashioned name. And it was a bus ride to get to her. We didn't have a car or anything, or a train journey. And we went to see her when I was growing up as a boy. I remember it quite a lot of times. And I remember Uncle Sid, who was her husband.
Yeah.
Nice man, but they never had any children. And about, who knows what, when Dad was still alive, I think last year of his life, he said to me, well, bad news about Uncle Sid. I said, what about? He said, I found out from Uncle Bob, who was a decorator, by the way, that Uncle Sid retired on January the 1st and died at the end of February.
Oh, no. Oh, wow.
He had 2 months of retirement.
Yeah.
And he was a bus driver.
How sad.
A bus driver.
Yeah, wow.
Now, did he plan his retirement? It could be that it was the end of his life.
It could be.
He couldn't face, what am I going to do? Sitting in the front room of my cottage, overlooking the bloke who's driving my bus, because the bus he drove, funnily enough, used to go through his
Right,
and when I was there, as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, suddenly you'd hear toot, 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 and he'd be going past wailing.
Oh, what a lovely memory. Yeah, but yeah, no, what a sad story. But you do occasionally come across those stories where people didn't have
2 months.
enough time in retirement to do the things that they maybe they're planned.
Is it because he's mentally got it wrong?
Well,
and a bit harsh.
Well, it could be. I don't think anybody knows. I mean, there's always the stories of people that have worked in offices and stressful jobs and worked loads of hours, and they come to retire and they just drop dead because they've burnt themselves out, type of thing. But it's interesting. It really is interesting. Look, John, I'm going to pull it to a close.
Fine.
I'm really, really grateful of you sharing your stories and how you view the world and the life you've had, and I'm incredibly appreciative of you being open and honest. And thank you very much.
That's right,
Thank you very, very much. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Retirement, Your Third Act. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe, like, and share it with others who might benefit. Until next time, take care.